The last light over the lake. In a small, forgotten village, hidden between the rolling hills and tall pine forests, there was an old lake perfectly round, like a mirror, and so deep that no one ever reached its bottom. The villagers said the lake had no end, that it swallowed everything that dared to disturb its calm. They feared it, respected it, and yet couldn't live without it. It was their water, their reflection, their silence. At the edge of the lake stood a wooden house, gray and cracked with age. It belonged to Elias, a quiet man who had lived there his entire life. He was neither young nor old, the kind of man time seemed to forget. His back was slightly bent, his beard silver like frost, and his eyes pale blue still carried a trace of something once bright. Every evening, he would sit by the window with a small oil lamp and stare out at the still water. No one really spoke to Elias anymore. The villagers whispered that he was waiting for someone. "He's waiting for the lake to speak to him," some said. Others believed he had gone mad after his wife and daughter vanished 20 years ago. Taken, they claimed, by the same dark water that now reflected the moon. But Elias didn't argue. He didn't need to. Every night, as the last rays of sunlight disappeared beyond the forest, he heard something no one else could, a soft hum beneath the surface of the lake, like a lullaby sung by the wind. It was the same tune his wife once hummed when she rocked their baby to sleep. It had been autumn when it happened. The leaves had turned crimson and gold, and the air smelled of rain. Elias remembered every detail, the sound of his daughter laughing, the echo of footsteps on the dock, and the sudden silence that followed. When he ran outside, there was only her red ribbon floating on the water, twisting slowly like a dying flame. He dove in again and again, screaming their names until his lungs burned. But the lake gave him nothing, no body, no answer, just silence. For years, Elias lived with that silence. He stopped talking, stopped eating with the others, and rarely left his home. Only at sunset did he come alive again, lighting his lamp, setting it on the windowsill, and waiting. He believed that light was a signal, a way for them to find their way back. One particular evening, the sky was painted with orange and violet streaks, the kind that only appeared before storms. Elias felt something different in the air, a heavy stillness, as if the entire forest was holding its breath. Even the birds had gone quiet. He lit his lamp early that night. The flame trembled, casting long shadows on the walls. Outside, the surface of the lake was perfectly smooth, reflecting the lamp's glow like a golden star floating in the darkness. Elias stared at it, his heart pounding with a strange anticipation. Then he saw it. A ripple, small at first, spread across the lake, then another and another, until the whole surface seemed to move like something alive beneath. Elias rose slowly, pressing his hand against the cold glass. In the center of the lake, a light appeared, faint, shimmering, and moving closer. He stepped outside, the wind brushing through his thin gray hair. The smell of rain was heavy now. Each step toward the dock echoed across the empty shore. The light grew brighter, pulsing gently, like the heartbeat of the lake itself. Elias knelt at the edge of the dock. "Anna," he whispered. "Lila." The light flickered. For a moment, he could swear he saw their faces soft, smiling, their hair flowing like waves. His wife's eyes met his, and his daughter reached out her small hand, just barely above the water's surface. Without hesitation, Elias reached out too. The wind howled, the storm broke open above him, lightning slicing the sky apart. The lamp behind him fell and shattered, its flame extinguished in the rain, and just like that, the light in the lake vanished. Elias gasped, his reflection broken by the raindrops. He stayed there, drenched, trembling, until the night swallowed everything: the forest, the dock, even the stars. When the storm ended, the lake was still again, silent and black as glass. The next morning, the villagers noticed smoke rising from Elias's chimney for the first time in years. They found him sitting at the table, calm, a faint smile on his lips. He didn't speak much, only said one thing: "They're home." No one knew what he meant. Some thought the loneliness had finally broken him. Others said he had seen something that night, something that no human should see. When they went to the lake, they found the oil lamp floating near the dock, still glowing faintly under the morning sun, though it had rained all night. Years passed. The house by the lake grew older, more crooked, and eventually collapsed under its own weight. But the villagers still tell stories. On quiet nights when the wind is still and the moon is full, a single light can be seen floating over the water, a small flickering flame, drifting slowly from the center toward the shore. They say it's Elias, still waiting. They say it's his family calling him home. Or maybe it's just the lake remembering. Either way, when you stand there and watch, the air feels heavier, the silence deeper. And if you listen closely, really closely, you might hear it too. That same lullaby, soft and distant, rising from the heart of the water. The last light over the lake. Part Tattoo. The echo beneath the water. It had been 7 months since Elias's death. The villagers had almost stopped talking about him, almost. But sometimes, when the fog rolled down from the hills and covered the lake, someone would whisper, "He's still out there." The lake never froze that winter. Even when the forest turned white and the rivers hardened like glass, the water at the center of the lake stayed dark and restless, as if something beneath refused to sleep. And then, one cold morning, a stranger arrived in the village. He came walking from the northern road, tall and quiet, carrying nothing but a worn notebook and an old camera. His name was Nathan Hale, a photographer from the city who traveled to forgotten places to capture what he called the silence of time. Nathan had heard stories about the lake stories of lights, whispers, and a man who vanished. He didn't believe them, of course, but something in those tales drew him here, as if the water itself was calling his name. The villagers warned him, "Don't go near the dock after sunset." But Nathan smiled politely, the way outsiders do when they think local legends are just superstition. That evening, he went anyway. The world was gray. The mist hung low, wrapping the trees in ghostly ribbons. Nathan set up his tripod at the old dock, now half broken, its boards creaking under his boots. He took a few photos, the shutter echoing softly in the stillness. But when he looked through the lens again, he froze. There was light on the water, faint, golden, moving slowly toward him. He blinked. There was nothing, only his reflection and the dark. He exhaled, laughing quietly at himself. "Old stories," he whispered, "nothing more." But then he heard it soft and distant, like a hum beneath the surface. A melody, a woman's voice. Nathan turned on his recorder. The sound grew clearer, a lullaby. He followed it, step by step, until his boots touched the edge of the dock. The lake's surface shimmered once, like something alive beneath. And then he saw her. A figure beneath the water pail, hair floating like silk, eyes open. Not lifeless, watching him. Nathan stumbled back, heart racing, the dock groaning beneath him. He blinked and she was gone. Only ripples remained. He ran to the inn that night, shaking, his breath fogging the air. The villagers stared as he entered, dripping wet. "I saw her," he gasped. "The woman, the lake, she's still there." An old man by the fire nodded slowly. "That's Elias's wife," he said. "The lake keeps them. Those it takes, it never lets go." Nathan didn't sleep. He listened to the recording again and again. The voice was faint, but real, humming the same lullaby Elias once heard. He had to go back. The next day, the storm returned. Lightning flashed across the hills, and the lake churned violently. Nathan stood by the shore, drenched, camera in hand. The wind roared, tearing through the trees. He shouted over it, "What do you want from me?" And for a moment, the world went still. Then, from the water, a voice answered. Not through the air, but through the sound of the waves, deep and resonant, like the earth itself was speaking. He found us, but he did not return alone. Nathan froze. He stepped closer, staring into the water, and saw two lights glowing beneath the surface, side by side. Then, slowly, they began to rise. When the storm ended, the lake was calm again. Nathan's camera was found on the dock, soaked but intact. Inside were dozens of photographs, all blank, except one. In the final photo, taken at the moment of lightning, 3 figures stood on the water's surface. Elias, his wife, and a man tall, wearing Nathan's coat, holding their daughter's hand. The villagers never saw Nathan again. But on certain nights, when the mist is thick and the moon glows low, the lake reflects 3 golden lights instead of 1. They say it's Elias, his family, and the stranger who listened to the lake's song, the echo beneath the water.